Details of intolerant attitude. 1. Stereotype. The ancestor of every action is a thought. Ralh Waldo Emerson. Prejudices are nourished by negative stereotypes of individuals or groups of people. The word stereotype is derived from the Greek words stereós, solid, hard, petrified, and typos, pattern, mould. Walter Lippman, an American journalist, introduced the concept of stereotype to social science in 1922 in his often quoted work, Public Opinion. He assumed that stereotypes, pictures in our heads, at least partially, are culturally determined phenomena and are necessary to simplify a complex reality. Stereotypes are overgeneralizations, often erroneous and oversimplifying, about reality, other people, based on assumptions and misinformation rather than on facts. Stereotypes do not take under consideration enormous varieties of human diversity belonging to a given group. They do not consider either current circumstance, which surround individuals. What is worse, stereotypes can lead to prejudices and discriminatory behaviours. Stereotypes can become so ingrained that people accept them without question. Social stereotypes blind people to individual differences so they ignore each person's uniqueness. They are sets of convictions associated with a group, generalized to all its members. We learn stereotyping as children listen to the comments of parents, teachers, and our peers, absorbing their opinions, observing their behaviors, watching TV, listening to music, reading textbooks and comics. Stereotyping makes life easier because it does not require an independent thought process. It makes the world seem simpler so we can feel safer. Since the sixties, there have been tendencies to treat stereotypes as normal processes of categorization, with emphasis on arbitrary characteristics of some social categories. Stereotypes, as any other categories, are stored in our long-term memory as cognitive representations called schemata. We activate them automatically, being unaware and with little effort. There is no pathology in stereotyping, but the content of stereotypes may be pathogenic. Traditionally, stereotypes were perceived as particularly rigid and resistant to change. Not all researchers nowadays share this view. They serve also various functions. Oversimplify complex reality and allow categorizing when information is limited. Main functions of stereotypes are adjusting, supplying the feeling of cognitive control in social situations, defensive and reducing fear, improving self-esteem, especially when positive self-stereotype is confronted with a negative hetero-stereotype, indicative of distinctions between dominant groups and the minority group, strengthening in-group value against taking foreign values, channeling aggression and justifying attack on others, assuring foreseeing human behavior, communicative, manipulative, political, and propaganda. The less information we have about a person, the more likely we are to respond to him or her in terms of stereotypes. The stereotypes of various ethnic, cultural, or religious groups are widely known to members of a society, and may often affect behavior. 2. Prejudice. A great many people think they are thinking when they are merely rearranging their prejudices. William James. There can be no war without prejudice. Often color, race, and religion are partial causes of prejudice. The word prejudice comes from the Latin words pre, before, and judicum, judgment. The term prejudice is often used synonymously with bias, and it is defined as a negative, emotional attitude toward certain groups and their members based on inaccurate stereotypes. Prejudices give the feeling of controlling reality. Since they allow describing the world in a supposedly consistent way, they fulfill the feeling of security. When we think of others, we should realize that we do not react to reality, but to our image of reality. Prejudice is defined as a negative attitude, emotion or behavior towards members of a group on account of their membership of that group. Some researchers believe that personality factors are crucial in determining prejudice. Some see situational and socioeconomic factors as a determinant factor. Prejudiced attitudes, manifested most frequently within ethnic and gender groups, can be already found among very small children. People have the tendency to categorize the world and underline differences between various categories and diminish differences within a category. The categorization process causes stereotyping. When groups have conflicting goals and are in competition, it may also lead to prejudice. Many attitudes toward others depend upon one's childhood guidance, as well as attitudes molded by parents, teachers, media, and social environment. Prejudiced people are prejudiced in similar ways. They share certain common features. They generally are afraid of failure. They are not able to deal with changing situations and with frustration. They lack self-awareness. They do not know that they are the primary victims of self-intolerance. They have low self-esteem. To have any self-esteem at all, they have to consider themselves stronger, smarter, or better in some other way than those around them. They lack trust in themselves and in other people. Not feeling safe, and not being able to deal with ambiguities, they construct a worldview and a vision of themselves that masks their real feelings and gives them a false sense of belonging. Some need to hate in the same way that others need to abuse painkilling medicines. Some became addicted to hate and to the hate object. For some of them, the level of their hate towards the group picked for scapegoating reflects the intensity of their unconscious self-hate. Prejudices are a convenient screen on which they can project topics and interpretations important to them. Among features of prejudices are the lack of consistency and the allowance to describe the world supposedly in a consistent way. Prejudices give feelings of controlling reality, fulfill feelings of security, are economical, and therefore make acting and thinking easy. They serve a communicative function, may influence and create reality. Another factor determining their durability is that dominant groups benefit from prejudices and the stigmas attached to subordinate groups are deep in our subconscious. Experimental studies bring pessimistic outcomes, in reference to control the propagation of prejudice and negative stereotypes, confirming that they are activated automatically, influencing behavior of the object and subject of an interaction.